Hey guys, welcome back to the Friday show, the Friday breakdown, the weekly breakdown, whatever you want to call it. Should probably have a name for that. Anyway, we're not going to have any intro today, so we'll just jump right into the stories. But before that, first of all, remember to subscribe and like and comment what you would like to see us do with this channel and platform in general. And second thing, I should be adding a progress bar right here somewhere for the stories, and there should be chapters on the timeline. Real awkward if they don't appear there. Anyway, before jumping into it, the final story is really, juicy, so stick around for that. But yeah, before that, one of the biggest stories of this week that has gained huge media coverage, understandably, and that is the huge sigh of relief by what seems the entire or majority of the Western world, and that was the inauguration of the US President Joe Biden on Wednesday. Maybe thinking, hey, how does this have anything to do with Europe? Well, fortunately or unfortunately, the US is a ginormous ally of the EU and Europe in general, and whatever they do usually has an effect on us. So let's look at that. Leaders from all over Europe have been reacting to the newly inaugurated president as much as they have been reacting to Donald Trump leaving the White House. The president of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, is quoted to call the new dawn in America, while the European Commission itself has shared her tweet stating the United States is back. Many have been focusing on Kamala Harris, the new vice president, who has become the first woman to take such a high position in the White House. Biden had prepared 15 executive orders to be signed, one of them having the US rejoin the Paris Climate Agreement again, which has been applauded by European leaders, seeing it as a first step to re-establishing cooperation between the two continents. Moving on, in some quick but not so quick COVID update. In Europe, COVID numbers are being published absolutely non-stop. The past week, some quite significant numbers have been published, with Italy having now passed 1 million inhabitants vaccinated, which is very good. At the same time, the European Commission is urging its member states to have 80% of their inhabitants of over the age of 80 be vaccinated by summer in order to prevent the spread and better secure the biggest risk group, the elderly people. The vaccine producing company Pfizer BioNTech has experienced big delays in their deliveries of the vaccine doses to Europe. Some countries have not publicly reacted to the delayed deliveries, but just continued vaccinating as many as possible, while other countries have informed their citizens about the situation to ensure transparency between the health agencies, the government, and its people. However, vaccines are on their way. The EU has currently only approved the Pfizer and the Moderna vaccines, but 4 more brands are in the lines waiting for approval. Hungary has, as the first country in the EU, pre-ordered the Russian vaccine Sputnik and is now just awaiting final approvals and delivery to start using the vaccines. Many countries have given estimates on how many they expect to have vaccinated by the summer. The UK has already given almost 5.5 million doses of vaccines as a result of a strategy of ordering large amounts of doses for its people, with a rate of about 8 vaccines given per 100 inhabitants. In the beginning of the pandemic, the whole world was looking at Italy, where the health sector almost collapsed. Right now, the case in Portugal is unfortunately very similar, being the country in the EU with the fewest intensive care beds per 100 inhabitants. This has resulted in the healthcare professionals having to prioritize between its patients. The pressure on the hospitals has been described as enormous. Meanwhile, new virus variants have been reported in several European countries, the British and the South African variants. However, the effects of those mutations are similar to COVID-19, but just with a faster transmission rate. On top of that, a German hospital has reported 35 patients being infected by a new variant that has not been seen anywhere else. Further research is being conducted on the mutation to be given a clear picture of how it can be compared to the already existing variants. Moving on, since last week, Giuseppe Conte and the Italian government has gone through votes of confidence in both the lower house and the Senate, with Matteo Renzi and his party, Viva Italia, withdrawing from the government last week. Conte suddenly was standing in a situation where his government had no longer a majority vote. Conte won the Senate test with 156 voting in his favor, 140 against, with 16 abstaining, being a very close margin. It was expected that Conte would face a tough test, and in case of a loss, he would have had to withdraw from the government. It would have not been the first time that Italy was left without a majority government. An option would have been to continue with a minority government. However, it would have been more difficult for Conte to have a decision conducted and approved without the majority. Moreover, minority governments have throughout time shown a tendency of not being very stable and collapsing during their terms. Conte has now stated that his focus will be on getting Italy back on track. Shortly after passing the Senate vote, Conte tweeted, "Italy does not have a minute to lose." It is expected that Conte will try to establish a coalition with the center and left parties. Viva Italia has been open for the possibility of rejoining the government in case their policies are met. However, in response to this, Conte had declared that you have chosen the path of aggression and media attacks. This is not the best choice for the interest of the country. The European Recovery Fund has allocated resources to Italy. The allocation of these funds in the Italian budget was what in the first place caused Renzi to pull Viva Italia from the government. With an additional loan of 32 billion euros, Conte is expected to try and stabilize the Italian economy in the future until the pandemic and the economic crisis can be taken control of. With that out the way, let's look at the main stories that have been revolving in Europe throughout the past week, which are all interconnected. First of all, starting from the arrest of Navalny. On Sunday, upon his return to Russia, Alexei Navalny was arrested for allegedly violating his terms of parole on his suspended prison sentence. He's currently held in custody and awaits a trial on the 29th of January on whether he may continue the suspended sentence or if he will be sent to prison. Just to give you a rundown, Navalny attempted to run in opposition to Putin in 2018, but was barred due to alleged crimes he committed in 2014, which of course he denied and stated were political fabrications. Late August of 2020, he was poisoned by a Russian Cold War era nerve agent and was transported to Germany for treatment, which quite certainly saved his life. In response to the arrest, supporters of Navalny have been gathering in front of the police station that holds him, and there is an alleged planned demonstration for Saturday. Moreover, many of the European leaders have called the act of arresting Navalny wrong and demanded his immediate release. Notably, this included France, Italy, Germany, and the UK, along with the President of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen. Unless convicted, Navalny is expected to be released on the 15th of February. Meanwhile, as a retaliation, Navalny has released information regarding an alleged estate the size of a little under 40 Monacos, yes, the country Monaco, worth over €1 billion belonging to Putin. Of course, this was disputed by the government. Worth noting is that the Duma elections, which is the lower house of the Federal Assembly of the Russian Federation, are coming up in September of 2021. In late 2020, laws were passed that granted immunity to past presidents of the Russian Federation, sparking rumors that Putin may be stepping down. However, earlier in the summer of the same year, amendments were made to the Russian constitution, allowing for the president to theoretically run for 2 more terms. If Putin decided to remain, he would stay in power until 2036. Kind of connected to the other topic that has transpired throughout this week, let's talk about the Nord Stream 2 pipeline. For those unaware, the Nord Stream 2 pipeline is an expansion on the existing Nord Stream pipeline that was finished in 2011, connecting Vyborg, Russia, to Lubmin in northern Germany. In 2018, Nord Stream 2 began the expansion process and is expected to begin its operations in 2021. However, since 2019, the US has warned Germany of sanctions against the project as it would increase European dependence on Russia. The US had finally lived up to their threats of sanctions and delivered them on the 19th of January. Earlier this week. Members of the European Parliament have joined the US since and called for sanctions by the EU on Russia after the arrest of Alexei Navalny. Meanwhile, the European Commission has to weigh their options, as on one hand, Nord Stream 2 pipeline is being constructed lawfully and this would provide more stability to gas imports to Europe. However, on the other hand, it does increase reliance on Russia. The High Representative of the Union for Foreign Affairs and Security Policy, Josep Borrell, had stated against addressed the application of sanctions on activities between the European states and companies and Russia by the US. In a statement released, he said, "The European Union does not recognize the extraterritorial application of sanctions adopted by third countries and considers it as contrary to international law." While over in Germany, there has been heavy opposition to the construction of the pipeline by NGOs and other various green groups. In order to find a workaround for the US sanctions, the state of Mecklenburg-Vorpommern has created a non-profit climate foundation which is to receive a donation of 20 million euros by Nord Stream 2, with a lawsuit being prepared by a German NGO under the name of Umwelthilfe, citing violations of environmental regulations. Additionally, in countering the non-profit foundation creation, the same German NGO is attempting to get the European Commission on Competition to investigate the foundation, alleging possible violations of EU state aid rules. However, on a state level, no position shift is expected, as the newly elected president of the CDU, Armin Laschet, represents the home state of Germany's largest energy companies, E.ON, RWE, and Uniper, is of the same mindset as the current German Chancellor Merkel in maintaining relations with Russia. Speaking of, let's wrap this week up by looking at the newly elected leader of the CDU party, Armin Laschet, who is said to be a direct successor to Merkel. During last weekend, the Christian Democratic Union held Germany's first digital elections, with 1,001 delegates of the CDU voting between 3 candidates in 2 rounds, out of which Armin Laschet came out victorious. Laschet is said to be supported by Merkel, and most see him as a direct successor in terms of policy and vision to the current German Chancellor, who is said to be stepping down later this year. He takes up a similar centrist approach as Merkel without deviating much from her ideals, which everyone is hoping will lead to a continued stability of Germany. Germany will be having the Bundestagwahl, the German federal elections, in September, which will see a new chancellor being elected for the first time since Merkel took office in 2005. Traditionally, the chancellor nomination has come from the CDU party in the CDU-CSU group. However, this time rumors of the Bavarian CSU leader and minister president of Bavaria, Markus Söder, have surfaced. Söder has shown strong polling across Germany, begging the question of whether there may be a switch-up in the making. A third candidate for the chancellorship has been floated in Health Minister Jens Spahn, who officially supports Laschet but is rumored to be thinking of joining the race. If he were to win, he would become the first openly gay chancellor of Germany. Currently, CDU-CSU are leaps ahead of everyone else in the national polls, with the Greens building a strong profile to become the second biggest party in Germany. One thing is for certain, whether CDU's or CSU's party leaders ran for chancellorship, we'd most likely see a continuation of Merkel's centrist policies by Germany. With that being said, that wraps up this week's show. We hope you enjoyed the news stories. We hope you learned something new. And we hope that you're going to click the subscribe button and like the video. But jokes aside, we sincerely hope that this was very informative to you. And be sure to check us out in our social medias down below. And we hope that you stay safe and have a great weekend. Bye-bye.